Welcome to Our Layered Life, where we talk with women business owners about faith, family, business, and every relationship in between. Here's the truth. Women drive over $80 trillion in global spending every single year, yet only 2% of those dollars go to women-owned businesses. What if we took that to 5%? We could change the dynamics of our economy and millions of lives. One story, one layer, one woman at a time, because her life is layered and her influence can change the world. Today, my guest, I met Brynn, first time ever, guys. I know I always fall back on Glacier, this magical trip to Glacier, but I met Brynn. She's the founder and CEO of Slate Flosser, a brand that's rethinking oral care through design, sustainability, and innovation. In just a few short years, Slate has gone from a concept to securing a Target launch happening this February. Is that still true?
It is.
Alongside the release of their new mini flosser. Today, we're unpacking what it really takes to build a product based business that scales, earns retail trust, and stays rooted in purpose. Brynn, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
It's very early for you. It's 8 a.m, right?
Yes, I anything to spend time with you.
I told Brynn I wanted to move to Utah, but we haven't quite come up with.
Probably not happening, but I do think there's many awesome things about Utah. And one of those things is an awesome support network for women-owned businesses.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty powerful here to really look at how many women-owned businesses there are here. I mean, even just in the 40-mile radius of, where I live, it's pretty incredible. But maybe someday. Maybe someday. So
Yeah,
I want to
maybe.
know what was the problem? What problem were you trying to solve when Slate was born?
So a tiny little bit of background about me is I went to school to be a product designer, and I did an internship with Johnson & Johnson. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could make things that like change people's lives. And then I had a bunch of kids and I put that in the background of my brain. And I purchased a dental practice. Dr. Snyder was a dentist and we got this dental practice. And then every day we had our worker who worked at the front desk got placenta previa, which made her go on bed rest. And all of a sudden we needed someone to work like the next day. So I filled in and I learned as everyone checked out, like, oh, I have 5 cavities. I wish I didn't have cavities. Oh, I have gum disease. And they were like complaining about this thing. And I was like, well, what is the fix? And after being there for like a month, I realized like this could all be solved if they just floss.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, that's like the easiest thing ever. Like, why can't people do it? And so I was like, okay, how do we? And this is where I think my mother brain kicked in, was if you teach your kid to do something as a little kid, they usually will do it for their whole lives.
Yeah.
So why don't kids learn how to floss? Because it's too hard, because they don't have the dexterity to do it.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh, and then like moms are too tired when their kid's 5, like at night, they're just like, get to bed.
Yeah, well,
like,
I mean, my kids were lucky to get their teeth brushed, honestly.
And it's crazy. The more I learned like flossing is more important than brushing.
Right.
It's like if you told your kid to take a bath and they didn't clean their armpits or their other cracks, you'd be like, you're not clean. Go get clean.
Right.
And so like the cracks in your mouth are where your gums and teeth touch, where you need to floss. And so the more I learned about it, I was like, we need to create a product that makes flossing easy. But it's also like floss picks are easy, but floss picks aren't effective. Unless if you took the time, you could make floss picks effective, but most people just go in and out and they're not stimulating the gums. And because of that, 50% of America has gum disease.
Wow. That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
So you're sitting checking people out for a month. They're all coming to the table with the exact same problem. They've got cavities, gum disease. They're spending tons of money at the dentist, not really where they wanna be spending their
And
money.
they're mad. They like don't want to spend that money. And I'm like, I can solve this for you.
Yeah.
Let's make it preventative focused instead of reactionary.
Right, I love that. So, tell me what was the first step? What'd you think? Were you just handing out floss and saying, "Well, here's your solution, here's your solution."
I mean, no, I mean, because dentists give free floss away and have for years, and
Very true.
it didn't create a change. And so I actually, at the time, I had a 3-month-old baby. And so Dr. Snyder was like, I want to solve the way people floss and make this product. And I was like, I don't really care. And then after a year, he had developed it and patented it, and he did a lot of that grunt work. And then what we learned was we couldn't like provide for our family and do a startup at the same time. And so he's like, "You're really good at running companies. Why don't you take this over?" So when we launched our Kickstarter is when I took over the company.
Hmm, that's fascinating. Tell me, did you see Slate right away as being this big business opportunity?
Yeah, so like that was like the only way I was gonna do it because I was like, "You're a dentist, like you make a good income. Why would I sacrifice 5 to 10 years unless I think this is actually going to change the world?" I know that sounds silly, but like I
Okay.
really
Yeah.
believe it will change the
Right.
world. And so I was like, hmm, like if I believed in the product that much and I saw like my sister's husband had never flossed in his whole life. He just didn't see the value in it and he found it annoying, you know?
Right.
And he got our product and he flossed every day. And I was like, okay. So he's someone who hates flossing. He flosses every day. And then my mom was a religious flosser. My mom was one of those moms who actually did floss her children's teeth. So like when I was little, she would go cross-legged. I'd lay my head in her lap and she would floss my
Oh,
mouth.
really?
And yeah,
That is dedication.
yeah, she's amazing. And that's probably why I had no cavities till I had my first baby. So
Hmm.
um,
Kudos to flossing.
yeah. So my mom was a religious flosser, and then she got our product and she liked it even more. So I was like, okay, this solves the people who love to floss. It makes it better for them. And then the people who never flossed. So I just saw, okay, we can change people's habits if they're willing to try.
Well, and honestly,
Um,
I'm one of those never flossers, I'll be honest, but then you sent me a flosser, and I'm a flosser. I like it. I don't even know why I like it. I just like it.
well, and the cool thing is we designed the heads to be reusable like your toothbrush.
Right.
And that helps people not stop the habit.
Right. Well, and I
What we were
just
trying to do,
put mine by my bed, and I sit in my
yeah,
bed, I'm like, flossing my teeth, watching my shows.
it's so true actually. Like we had this one guy on Kickstarter that was like, I put it beside my on my coffee table. And he's like, and I floss every night while I'm watching basketball and I love it.
It's actually brilliant. I do too. I really don't mind it at all anymore. I used to hate it. Actually, I didn't even hate it. I didn't even think about it. That's the problem.
I think that, yeah, most people are just like, I'm not a priority, but can I tell you why it should be a
Yes,
priority?
I would love for you to tell me why.
Okay, so this is what actually probably made me so passionate about it is I went to a dental continuing education class with our dental office and I found out that flossing affects dementia. If you have gum disease for more than 5 years, you're 70% more likely to develop dementia. When I learned that, I was like, I'll floss.
Yeah.
Me, I'll floss. And then I learned that if you don't floss and you have pregnancy gingivitis, like 60 to 70% of women have it because it's just
Right.
a normal thing. You have low birth weight and preterm labor. I was like, if someone would have told me those things, I would have also cared about flossing when I was pregnant.
Absolutely.
Then we learned like that erectile dysfunction is affected by flossing.
What?
menopause is affected by flossing because it's the inflammation. We all know like gut health, inflammation affects our whole body, but people aren't realizing like it starts in your
Mm.
mouth and the bacteria in your mouth goes to your brain and to your heart in less than 30 seconds. And so if you're not disrupting the bacteria, like I remember when I was working at the dental office, we had a patient call and she was so mad. She was like, my heart surgeon says I have to have a note from you guys. Will you please sign the note? And we were like, we are so sorry. We can't sign the note till you come in and we see that you do not have like your charts say that you had gum disease last time you were here. And when I read that, I was like, wait, you cannot get elective heart surgery unless if you have gum
Are
disease.
you
You have
kidding?
to, yes, because there's these things called T cells, and they're a bigger, harder name, but if they are in your heart when you have heart surgery and they're from like your mouth, there's like a 70% chance you're going to die after surgery.
That is so fascinating. I'm actually kind of blown away a little bit.
So I'm like, when you learn these things, you're like, yeah, I'll do this 30-second
Right.
thing every day.
I'll floss. No problem.
I'm like, I spend at least 30 minutes exercising every day.
Right.
And the thing is 30
Right.
seconds.
Right. Exactly. So what did the first version of your flosser look like?
Well, actually, Dr. Snyder cut up a bunch of different dental tools and attached them to a Sonicare
Oh,
to
really?
see if he liked it. And then he shot in composite material into where your gums and teeth
Yeah.
touch to see all the different shapes that would make because flossing is actually super technique sensitive. You're supposed to wrap the tooth. But he was like, okay, when you're 70, you can't have that technique. And when you're 5, you can't have that technique. So we actually invented and have on our product patented what we call gum brushes or gum sweeps.
Mhm.
They're little triangles
Right.
that go where your gums and teeth touch. And the sonic vibrations then massage your gums.
Yeah, you're right. I and you know what's so interesting is until you say like specifically that they're there on purpose, you don't even realize they're there, but they're like the most important probably part of the whole flosser itself.
They are, exactly. And then on the back, it's a tongue scraper. So it's like all the tools you need to disrupt the bacteria. But it was funny. I had a friend who used the flosser for like 3 months before she realized that the gum sweeps like were there for a reason.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, I put it in and I can then feel the sonic vibrations on my gums. I
Yeah.
was like,
I
yes,
kinda wanna go
that is
floss right
really,
now so I can recognize what's actually happening.
yeah.
Interesting.
So it's fun.
Interesting. All right. I wanna know what is the biggest risk you took early on?
Oh my gosh. So many,
I feel
I
like are you a
remember.
risk taker? I feel like what are you?
So this is funny. I am not naturally a risk taker when it comes to money.
Okay.
I am like in sports or things like that. I'll take all the risks, but I grew up with a mom who was very, very frugal and she made me very nervous about spending money.
Okay.
Um, so I think most of the things that stressed me out with Slate have to do with money. I remember one time when I was laying in bed at night and I was like, how am I going to pay for all of these POs? So a PO is a purchase order. And
Mhm.
like some people's product doesn't cost that much, but like my product is an electronic good. And so it's like $500,000 and it just like $500,000 goes out. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what do I do? Then I have 90 days before I can even sell anything. I'm like, what do I do for 90 days? Well, I have no money. Cash flow is really hard.
Yes, it is very,
Yeah.
very hard.
So I think that was one of the biggest stresses. One night I woke up and I just was like, I don't know how the flow. It wasn't that I didn't have money; it was the cash flow
Sure.
problem, right?
Sure. Yes.
And I I had never had a panic attack before, but I felt like my heart racing and I was like, okay, I think this might be what a panic attack feels like.
And this,
So,
so how, like, what did that look like? Where'd you get it? Did you just cut the check and say, see you later? Hopefully I see you in 6 months
no,
or
no. Okay, yes. There was a long process. So, um, we drew up stuff and then we gave it to an engineer. And we actually used an engineer in Utah because I went to school in Utah. I knew like the network there. It's interesting. I think it was good that we did it that way. But the second time we did our second iteration, we used Chinese designers and they're much more affordable
oh,
and
interesting.
actually better
Oh, interesting. That's okay.
because they only design electric toothbrushes,
Sure.
right? And so
Sure.
it's like we had an issue, and that was the second thing that was the hardest. Our very first product we made either worked perfectly or like didn't work, and like 5% of them were having problems, and there was literally no scientific reason why.
Interesting.
And like the engineers, I spent like $50,000 trying to fix the problem, and then I was like, okay, I'm just building a new one.
Interesting. And and that's what you do. You say, okay, well, plan B.
And I think the hard thing is like a new mold is $150,000. It's not like these are easy, fast changes. I think people don't realize iterations cost tons of money.
Well, especially in that world, especially in the engineering world where you really are trying to develop a product that is meticulous in its skill set, essentially. That's crazy. Okay. So was there a moment you thought, I'm out? This is never gonna work.
Actually, no. That's how much I love the
Okay.
product. I think there's been times when I'm like emotionally exhausted and I'm like, I remember, and I believe in God. And so I remember one moment when I was like, you need to show me that this is going to be worth the effort because I am sacrificing time with my children and things that matter to me to do this. And if it doesn't work, like I will be so sad. And like I remember just feeling overwhelmed in a good way. Like this will work if you put in the effort.
That gave me chills. I was uh I was praying this morning. We're on a little bit of a losing streak right now. We went 6-0. For those of you who don't know, I'm a high school basketball coach. But we have a really hard preseason. Like we just stacked it, right? And last year when we're going through the schedule, we're looking at the schedule. I'm like, guys, we're gonna get through our first 6 games and we are gonna hit the 6 game winning streak or stretch, and we may not win. Like, but now I'm living it and I'm kind of annoyed, right? Yeah, and I'm like, this sucks. And last night after the game, I was sitting there and I wasn't mad. I was just like frustrated with the kids and not even at them, just the scenario, right? And the spirit said, Amanda, you knew this was going to be hard. You knew it 8 months ago when you put the schedule together that this was going to be hard. And you and your coaches sat down and tallied up what this most likely was going to look like. This doesn't look any different than what you knew it could look like. And finally, I just had that realization, even this morning. And in the scripture I read, talked about, I spoke peace to your mind. I had this prayer like, why is I'm just feeling like, why is everything I'm doing just kind of like mediocre? Like we're just humming along, making things work, and it's good, but it's not like we're not killing anything, right? Um, and the scripture just said, Amanda. And then the first scripture I read, I spoke peace into your mind. And you need to remember that. And there's nothing any more important than the peace that God can give you. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I'll stop being a baby.
I love that. And I feel like God has spoken peace to my mind a lot through this process because I think I'm like you. And I think that's probably why we're business people is we're really competitive and we do not like to
No,
lose.
I hate it.
And I'm like, being mediocre is probably our biggest fear,
Yes,
right? Like we want to achieve greatness.
it's true.
And so when my company isn't growing at crazy speeds, I feel like so disappointed. But I actually, on my way here, I was talking to someone on the phone and I said, if you would have told me 3 years ago where I would be today, I would have been so proud of myself.
That's so true.
Today, I feel like I'm nowhere.
Yes, you're
And it's
right.
funny because I have made huge progress. Like, I remember 3 years ago to be a multi-million-dollar company would have been the coolest thing in the world. And now I wanted to double in growth. Come on.
It's just so funny because it's so true. You're right. The three years ago, Brynn would have been like, freaking, you are the biggest rock star on the planet. And the today Brynn is like, really? You only had 25% growth in like one of the worst economies ever? Oh, barf.
Yeah. And like, if you would have told me I would get into a retailer,
Yes.
like a dream retailer, I wouldn't. I'm like, I need to. That's why we need to count our blessings, is because we forget sometimes where we were and where we
I know.
are.
I think that's why the word remember is so often in the scriptures, because we have to force ourselves to remember. If we don't,
Yeah.
we get so caught up in the right this second, and the right this second sometimes it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. But if we can remember, okay, we're killing it actually.
Yeah.
Things seem to be better. So real quick, I want to know, how did you talked about bootstrapping Slate? How did you do the early stages of funding?
Well, actually, so we are not a bootstrapped company. We are a funded
Oh,
company.
okay.
So because we put in on our beginning money to do like things like the engineering, but in June of 2022, I realized we had done a Kickstarter and we raised $200,000 with Kickstarter. But I realized like, oh, my next PO, if I did it the way I wanted, would be
Sure.
$500,000. And I don't have $500,000. So
Right. Just not sitting in your account.
luckily, like I have some family members who have MBAs. I do not, but I feel like I have one now
Yes, you
because
do.
I've done so.
You 100% have an MBA now.
But they were like, Brynn, I like your some companies is like when you think about where could it go, like it'll max out at like 10 million. But they're like, if you really do it right, your company could be $1 billion company.
Sure.
And they're like, so I think you could get funding. So I raised $800,000 in June of 2022. And I was running our company, and then we got this our retail like job or whatever, and we realized, okay, in order for us to grow the way we want, we'll raise again. So I just raised $1.75 million in June.
Let's just talk about that for a second. Let's go back to 3 years ago, Brynn, and tell her she's going to raise $2.5 million, and people are going to say, "Yeah, I would love to invest in Slate."
I mean, it is that good of a product. I mean,
Yeah, but
like,
it's still,
I feel
you
like
would never have believed in a million years that you could raise
yeah.
$2.5 million. Have you ever raised $100,000 before?
Before that, I had never raised a cent.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
And
incredible.
is only 2% of funding, VC funding, which is venture capitalists, goes towards women. But the people I did VC, I didn't get VC money. I got angel investor
Oh, okay.
money, um, which I like a lot more because it was a seed round. So what I've learned, like, I had never known what all these different rounds were, but there's a seed, like, so SEED
Okay.
round. And then once you surpass that, it goes A and then B and then C.
Okay.
Um, but hopefully you don't have to keep going, because if you do, that means either you're growing so fast you need more money, or you're wasting so much money that you need more money.
Right. Right. And you're definitely not wasting money because your mama taught you right.
Yeah, my mom gave me anxiety about money.
That is something you probably go to therapy for, so it's fine.
Don't worry, I do on a weekly basis go to therapy, and I do talk about
Yeah.
money at least once a
Yes,
month.
you're trying to gain a better relationship with spending money. Because as we all
Yeah.
know, if you wanna make it, you gotta spend it.
Oh, seriously, like, I also someone the other day, I was interviewing someone and I was like, "How much ad spend are you used to spending a month?" You know? And I remember when my budget was
Right.
$1,000.
Like,
So, like, people need to realize you change a ton, and now I'm like, "Okay, I spend 50 times that
right,
now."
right. And that's healthy, and that's what you gotta do. So next little called the breakthrough. I wanna talk about Target, and I would love to know kinda how that conversation started. What did that look like? And what's it gonna look like rolling out?
So what I've learned is networking is very important, and, like, meeting other female founders changed my business. So I went to Morocco, I met all these female founders. Then because of that, I was at an event in, like, I had to fly to the event. I got to the event, someone was speaking, um, oh my gosh, her name is eluding my brain right now. Susan Peterson from Freshly Picked was
Oh,
talking, and then there was a Q&A, and I raised my hand and I asked a question, and she did a shout out to me and just said, like, "I've tried your product and I love it. Everyone in this room needs to try it." So nice of her. But because of that, then I met someone else and he invited me to a VC dinner in Utah. And I live in Spokane and I wasn't going to go. And then I was talking to my teammate about it. She's like, "Brynn, like, I just go." And so I went, and the VC was talking about how he was at a Walmart summit. And then, like, in a week, he was going to a Target summit. And I was like, how does one get invited to these summits?
sure, sure.
And he was like, "If you can be ready in 2 days, I'll get you an invite." And I was like, done. So I like spent the next 2 days getting uniforms and banners and everything and just jumped on a plane and went. And I went to the new product summit. I gave away it's like so crazy. Like, back in the day, if I gave away 10 flossers, that was like so hard because I knew that I just gave away a ton of money.
Right.
But I gave away all these flossers to people who really weren't my buyers at Target.
Yeah.
My actual buyer was not there, and I was so sad. I was like, I spent all this effort, and the oral health person's not even here. But her boss came and he tried our product, and he was like, "I use this every day. I love it." And
So
so
cool.
because of that, I then got an invite back to meet them. And then it was really cool. Like, a lot of cool things happened right before. So I was like pumped up. We we posted on Instagram the day before Target about Alzheimer's, and we had over like 2 million views. And it was just like I was so pumped when I went into that meeting. And they're like, "You know what? This is something people need, and we haven't had a lot of innovation." Oral health, like, there's like 2 people who own oral health.
Yeah, exactly. There is.
So we're trying to change that. It's hard to have innovation if there's no new players.
Sure, and that's true. That's true. And that's the beauty of business. That's what makes business thrive, right? Is none of us have any brand spanking new ideas. We're just innovating off of old ones and trying to take what we have and make it better.
Yeah.
But you're right. If there's capital, if there's a two main players that are making lots of money doing what they're doing, it's hard to come in on that. But that's exciting that you have. I mean, that in of itself is something to just be so stoked about, that you have hit a space that has been, I mean, dominated by two companies only.
Yeah, it's so fun because I remember I went to a dental trade show and they knew who I was.
Oh,
And
that's sick.
they they have noticed, and now, like, I remember when no one was bidding on our AdWords, you know?
Right. That's
And
true.
now they're paying, which is annoying because it costs me more money now.
Right.
But they all know who I am because they're all bidding against me.
Sure. Competition is the best form of flattery, I think,
Yeah.
right? I remember we were have to was at HSN for years, and Sarah Berkeley with Spanx was on
Yeah.
was there on studio, and a lot of those bigger especially fashion brands, they don't talk to you at all, right? But
Yeah.
literally a year later, they come out with their arm sleeves, exact same taglines, all the things, right? And we're like, "Oh my gosh, Spanx just
Copy
copycatted
that.
Hefty, let's go!" And we're like, "We're onto some." I mean, if Spanx thinks our taglines are killing it, then we gotta stick to that and keep those taglines. But, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, no, they copied us." But at the same time, oh my gosh, that was like a huge feather in our hat, like Sarah
Yeah.
from Spanx.
They noticed us and they wanted to emulate me.
Right, I love it, I love it. So, what kind of change has happened for you as a leader, in your company to scale? I want everybody to understand, I think one of your greatest, gifts is you're not scared to ask questions. I
I ask questions that people are like, that's not a question you ask people.
I know, but I think that that's what has made you so valuable, and I think that's what's helped you grow and to become the person you are because you're not scared to ask the hard questions. And it takes asking questions to get to the right answers that you're looking for. So, what has changed in you? That was just a little side note because I was thinking about you raised your hand, and I was like, that's Brynn's MO, right? Is that you're not scared to ask hard questions and you're not scared to learn and you want to learn, and that happens by asking questions. But what?
I never feel stupid for asking a question because most of the time people want to help you.
And that's true. You're absolutely correct. We think people are like, oh, she's so stupid. That's not true. They actually love listening to themselves talk. They really do. We love listening to ourselves talk, and when somebody asks us a question, we're like, "Yeah, I know the answer to that. I would love to answer that question." But what had to change in you as a leader to scale?
Um, so there had to be a mind shift. I remember when I was raising money the first time, I was like, this feels so much more intense because any other company I've had, like my goal was, let's make $250,000 a year, right? And now my brain is like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to make $50 million. I don't
Right,
know how to do that.
right.
So I read a bunch of books that pumped me up. Benjamin Hardy, 10x is better than 2x. Be your future self now. Who Not How. Reading Who Not How changed my life. So at the beginning of my company, I was so gritty. My employees were like that too, but none of us knew what we were doing. And I was like, okay, if I want to be a $10 million company, I need someone who's done $10 million before. And so my next hire that I did was someone who had done bigger and better than that so that they could help take us there. But the hard thing is you're like, how do I pay for these people?
Mhm.
But as you grow, you make more money and then you can choose to put that money there. So Who Not How really changed my life. And then as a leader, I've been reading the book Multiplier,
Okay.
um, because if if there's one thing I would want to be known for, it would be like I loved working at Slate. I believed in our company, I believed in our mission, and I liked working for Brynn and she supported me. So I've been reading Multiplier and trying to create that culture in my company.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. How has I feel like this is kind of the same thing, but I really like to talk about just our layers, right? Because there's so many layers, I think, particularly with women specifically in business, that has that that changes the scopes of everything, right? Like we don't just go to work. We have families. We a lot of times I tease my husband all the time if he comes like if he's sick and he's like comes to kiss me, I'm like, "Don't kiss me. You're sick." Like I don't have a wife to do everything while 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 I'm sick, right? I tease him all the time. He's like, "Actually, you're kind of right." But we really we are so many things. We have so many layers. that we're trying to balance and flow through, find the rhythm of it. Um, so I want to talk about that a little bit. What are some of the layers that you feel like I kind of want to backtrack just a smidge? You said you went to school in Utah. You went into product design. I feel like that's a layer, right? Kind of one of those steps into your life that you probably had no idea maybe why you were doing it or if it would ever mean anything. You kind of did actually. You mentioned that. But what are some of those layers that you look back on and you're like, "Oh, I see God in this." I see that layer mattering so much to where I am today.
And in everything. So I feel like everything layers on top of each other, but like there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful in spite of their parents, right? Like they had parents who didn't believe in them or they weren't supported. I see there's two groups. I'm the opposite. I am successful because my parents are amazing. My mom showed me that you could start a business. My mom is a great businesswoman. And my dad let her do that. Like, let isn't the right word, but back
Supported.
in there, he supported her. And
Yeah.
it's funny, my brother-in-law said to my dad, like, what's the best investment you ever made? And he's like, my best investment actually was letting my wife do whatever she wanted because she's much better than me. Yes.
Oh,
And like,
that gave me chills
so
too. Oh,
So I was like, okay, my dad showed me that women can do whatever they want. My mom showed me how to be a businesswoman, and I really believed I could do anything. So I had no mental barriers to trying new things.
right.
I'm dyslexic and I have ADD. And
You're dyslexic?
so,
What?
yep, I actually think being dyslexic was one of the best gifts I ever
Like your
got.
superpower.
It taught me how to work super hard. Because
Interesting.
I wanted to have A's. In Canada, I'm Canadian. In Canada, they do percentages. So there's no like A, B, C. It's like 95, 92, 89. So I was like, I always want to have a 90. So when my sister or brother would study for 10 minutes to an hour for a test, I would study all day.
Right. Right.
But because of that, I learned how to work hard.
Yeah.
Another thing is another layer to me was my mom, um, and dad said, like, "We don't have enough money to send you to college and pay for it. Like, you're gonna have to pay for college, so you guys have to decide what to do." So me and my brother and my sister started a bounce house company where we lived when I was 13.
Oh
So
my goodness.
as a 13-year-old, I learned how to answer phone calls, be like customer service. I learned how to do the books for a business. So my mom really made me a successful businesswoman. And then I think my personality also, I'm an extrovert, and I think that helps me network and get to know people. But I think asking the hard questions that people, you know, I and now that I'm a more my our company's bigger, I can see how how rude this is. But like, I will go. I was asking people like, how much money does your company make? They're like, what? I'm like, because I didn't care. I wanted to figure out where were they? What could I learn from them?
Right.
How did they get to be a $10 million company? How did they get to be a $50 million company? But I remember I was hiking with a bunch of female founders, and I asked someone that, and I could tell they were like, wait, is she genuine? Like, why is she asking me this question? And then like 5 minutes later, the person did tell me how much money they made, and I've learned so much from them. Um, but so being dyslexic made me never fear asking questions because I just don't understand stuff and I don't know what all the acronyms are. And then you get into like Target and they have new acronyms and I'm like, okay, what are all these things and what do they mean?
I love it.
So I went to the temple and like we've been told like there's this quote that I right now I hate. It's like no success outside of the home is worth like
Failure in the
failure
home.
inside the home.
Yes.
And I'm like, I want to throw darts at that quote because it like haunts me at night. But I realized like I just needed to change my mindset because when I went to the temple, I prayed and I was like, I felt the spirit tell me like, you deserve happiness. This isn't where you're supposed to be. And while I know you don't want to be divorced, it's okay. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like then I felt like I had to explain to everyone that, but that like isn't people's. They don't need to know why I'm divorced. But I I felt like a major loser for 6 months, maybe
Yeah.
longer.
And that's still something it's still something you're gonna battle. I mean, like it's always gonna be something that will always probably come back, and you'll always be like, did I try long enough? Did I do everything?
Actually, I do know I have been given like that sense of like I we did marriage therapy for 3 years and I tried my best and I realized that my best is enough, but I'm very sad when I think about what my kids have to go through and how it affects their life and how they view relationships. But all I can do is love them and God
Right.
will hopefully do the
That's all.
rest.
That's all we can do, right? So through that, I mean, because really you've been building Slate and going through a divorce at the same time. What do you find there that you
Yeah.
feel like, what have you learned? Like that's a very fascinating path to be on, to be growing something and losing something at the same time.
It taught me how important a support system is. Um, and it was hard because my parents are a huge support to me, but they were like they were living in New Zealand for the last 2 years, and so I was like, I I need you, but FaceTime, God bless me with FaceTime. um, also, I mean, it did teach me how important therapy is, how important a relationship with God is. For me, I know some things like this can make people farther away spiritually, but for me, I don't think I would have gotten through it without having a religious like I became very very close to Jesus during this process because as I don't know how to do this without your help. And I have a really great friends. The lady across the street is like my kid's second mom. So I'm really grateful for Ashley. She changed my life by having her. And then I have a nanny, I have a house cleaner, and a
Perfect.
landscape person. So don't let me like pretend that I have lots of things.
Isn't it funny? All the hands.
I don't have more because I spent it giving it to everyone, but I've like being able to survive is more important than that.
Funny. Well, I love it. And I love that you thank you for sharing that. I know that's super personal, but I do think that it's an important part of your layers, and it's important to hear other women's experiences, and that even though we don't know outcomes and we don't know all the things that are going to happen because of these things, what we do know is that God does. And one of my favorite affirmations that I write down every single day is everything is already working out, because God knew long before we did the things that we were going to have to face. And he also knows that we don't have all the answers. And so I every time I write it down, I kind of smile and I'm like, I know you're working things out. I just can't see them. And I hope at some point I get to. Um, but that's something that I just think about all the time. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I always am like, "Wait, I don't get why I had to have this happen to have that happen." But, I have decided I don't want God to explain to me why everything happens because that just is too hard. But I know that he'll comfort me when I'm going
I
through
love it.
hard
I
stuff.
love it. All right. I want to do just like a shotgun question to wrap everything up. I want to know, what was your first thought when Target said yes?
I needed a win so badly. I was like, God, you need to show me that things are moving forward,
I
please.
love it.
It was so awesome. I was like, this was the win I needed to have like gumption to do the next
Yeah,
year.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. D2C growth or retail scale, which is harder? So for those of you who don't know, D2C is direct to consumer. So most e-commerce businesses are direct to consumer. So which is harder?
I don't know the answer yet. I think they're both very hard. I think that they both cost, like, D2C, you have to spend ad dollars, whereas retail, you have to give up your margin. And I think systems are the thing that matter. So it's like, in order to do well in retail, you have to make sure all of your things move smoothly and that you have the right systems. I am very nervous because retail doesn't pay for like 65 to 90 days. So then cash flow gets even more tight. So the thing I like love about D2C is that you get more feedback more quickly. And so I send an email to every person who buys our product. And if they respond to the email, I see it. And it makes me so happy. Like when they say like, this product's changing my life, it reminds me like, this is worth it. This is worth the effort.
I love that. That's actually really, really good advice for all our little business owners. I think making that tiny little tweak, being able to see people respond and say, "Oh my gosh, I love this." That's like an instant affirmation. Like you're right where you're supposed to be.
Like a
Yeah,
dopamine hit of like, okay,
I can do this.
let's go.
Greta in Kansas loves my flosser. We're nailing this. I love that. That's really smart. I actually
For some reason, it's harder for people to do reviews. If they just reply to the email, it's easier for them.
That's so true. We're changing that, Princess. I want to see everybody that responds positively. Okay, I want to know, prototype you wish never existed. Like, what was the worst prototype you ever had that would just stunk?
I think there was a time when our spring was messing up in our prototype, and I was like, I don't understand how hard a spring can be. Like, why is the spring tension matter? This is so annoying. Yeah, that cost me 2 months of my life that I'll never get back.
And then early mornings or late nights? I already know this answer.
Oh, I'm definitely an early morning person. I wake up at like 5:30 usually. So it's not super early. I'm not like a crazy 4 a.m. person, but
we were having this
otherwise I
conversation about teenagers
anytime.
and how you like stay up late with teenagers and still have to wake up in the morning. It's actually the worst parenting part of life.
It is, for someone who is a morning person, it's so hard because my kids, they get home and they want to talk from 10 to 11. And then the weekends from midnight to 1. And I'm like trying to keep my eyes open while I'm talking to them. I'm like, this is
go down on their beds at 5:30 and start talking to them just so they know.
Yeah. But it's so hard because it's like, that's the time. If they're going to talk to me, I want to talk to them.
So
but
tricky. It's really one of those that you think, wow, we got through babies just to hit this stage.
But they're so much easier than babies. Oh my gosh.
Parts of it, yes. I think parts of it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, the hard thing about teenagers is their decisions, like, can affect their entire life. You're like, oh, you just did that. That's going to really hurt you. Whereas with like a baby, it's like, that hurts me more because I'm tired. But I think it's easier because I have a daughter who just makes really good choices right now. I'm very nervous for the other children, but
your first one,
your first
one, we're tracking well. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is
So
one?
she's risk averse to
She's
making bad
what?
choices.
She's what?
She's risk averse to making bad
That's so
choices. Like,
beautiful.
like I would jump off a cliff. She wouldn't jump
She'd
off a
be the
cliff.
person
So
holding onto your shorts saying, "Please, let's maybe rethink this."
yeah, let's make good choices.
What's one negotiable? What's one non-negotiable in your company culture?
Um, I would love to ask my team this, but for me, we are very family centered in my mind, and so if you need to leave to go get your kid or do something, like I don't even, I don't care. But I also have the culture of like, we have to get stuff done. So I know, okay, if they took their kid to the dentist in the middle of the day, they're working for an hour at night.
Right.
Um, but everyone hustles and we all support each other. And I want my kids to know like, my mom will drop anything for me. And I want my employees to feel the same, their kids to feel the same way about them.
I love that. That is really, really awesome. So what, last one, if Slate didn't exist, what would you be building?
Oh, that's so hard. I actually probably wouldn't be building a company right now. I'd just be centered on like community. I love being a community builder. I coach cross country. I love doing that. And then um I feel like I'm sure I would be building some company. I know that I've had a company my whole life, so I don't know why I say I wouldn't
Something
have
would
one,
be
but I
cute.
probably wouldn't be building one to this scale. Um I know that if I were to sell my company and have like I would probably take a few years off to just really love on my kids and then but I will definitely start another company again in my life, probably a few actually cuz I love being an entrepreneur.
That's exciting. That's awesome. Well,
So I
that
didn't
is
really
the
answer your
wrap.
question.
No, you did. You did. Just hasn't come to you yet. And you definitely would be building something amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here this morning. What an awesome way for me to be able to start my morning. Um,
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
you bet. Is there any last thing that you would what's your best word of advice?
Um so a lot of times people say like what makes a successful entrepreneur, and grit is one of those things, but also knowing when to quit or pivot is another thing that makes people a good entrepreneur. I remember listening to one of the books, and it's like sometimes we've invested so much into something we don't want to quit, but I remember it was like with that one product I had to give it up and start a
Right.
new one. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to grow. And so knowing when to quit and grit are my two
I
words of
love it.
advice.
I love it. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. What an awesome, good luck. I can't wait to hear how Target goes. I can't wait to see all the fun stuff that's coming up in 2026. I can't even believe we're able to say that, but we can. It's in like 2 weeks.
I am so pumped for 2026. It's going to be an
It
amazing
is gonna be
year.
amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today because building something that lasts means knowing when to grow. And as Brynn said, maybe when to quit, when to pivot, but also when to stay rooted. So until next time, let your choices shape the world you want to see and love every layer of your life. Mwah.